in Finance Committee, so I hope somebody on my side of the aisle will take over while I'm gone. Captain Wilson, in your testimony, you mentioned an incident in which Texas state law enforcement drone was actually mitigated by a Mexican cartel members. Can you please elaborate on the challenge that you face from cartel drones and speak to the safety of the risk of your department faces by not being able to employ the same technology that cartels have started to use against U.S. law enforcement? Push your button.
That would help, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, that in 2019, they started the ground surveillance. They would follow us for an hour and a half, 2 hours back to our hotels from where we were working on the border. People are sitting in a tree or sitting on a fence line. All they're there for is to scout for us, for law enforcement, for federal, state, local law enforcement. UAS has increased significantly since then to now where they're, like I mentioned earlier, they're trying to crash drones into our drones. They're hovering over our air helicopters at 1,600 feet, clearly in above 400 feet, and presenting a clear danger to any manned aviation in that area. In last month, we were mitigated by the cartels. We're in conversation or in communication with U.S. Border Patrol. They had asked us to see if we could. They had a detection over in Mexico, and were asked to see if we could find the pilot for that drone. After a little bit of time, we were able to locate that pilot and follow him. There was communication with Mexico to try to get the government there to respond. And as they were responding and before they got into the area, the criminal drone came down and departed the area. We continued to stay with the pilot and his co-pilot, if you will, to eventually our drone lost connection and was mitigated by the cartel, as we found out later, and crashed about 1,000 feet away from where the mitigation took place.
Thank you for that. Sergeant Dooley, you and your office provide support for federal law enforcement at mass gatherings and during protective operations. I'd like to have you elaborate on your role providing this support and explain how enhanced Counter-UAS authorities would better enable you to support federal partners.
Yeah, so that's a huge request we get. A lot of our federal and state partners know that we have the ability to do that. In most cases, our federal partners, their equipment is much more sophisticated than what we're allowed to use, but it is of still use. That's the number one question I get when they ask for our help, when we're using our equipment to help them in their detection, is can we mitigate? And of course, my response is no, we can't do that. They have a desperate need, I think, for a force multiplier and a support from the state. When we especially have our federal partners who rotate in and out from certain details and come to Florida, they're not the same people normally over and over again. So when they come down and they are not terribly familiar and we educate them on what our capabilities are and how we were supporting them already, again, over and over again, can you help us mitigate? No, we cannot. Our technology is passive. We use radars, cameras, remote ID, et cetera. We don't get into hacking and RF and all those things. But again, it still helps. It's just not on the level that they can perform those same duties. But it is a huge request that we get for those capabilities. And on top of that, I will get phone calls from our federal partners as well when they do have a request, because most of the requests that our federal partners get can't be fulfilled. They don't have enough resources and equipment, et cetera, to cover all the requests. And they'll call me, and again, I can't perform some of the same duties that they can, so in some cases it is of no use, because what they need specifically is the mitigation or the ability to detect on a higher level than what we're able to provide.
Mr. Dixon, in your testimony you mentioned the dangers that drone-delivered contraband like weapons and cell phones present to prisons. Elaborate on the threat of contraband cell phones to prison security.
Sure, Mr. Chair. It's, cell phones and drones combined are a few of the most critical security threats we have right now. The irony in this is cell phones or drones deliver cell phones, and the very cell phones that are delivered are what is used to coordinate additional drone deliveries. Everything bad that happens in a prison usually starts with a conversation. So if we intercept or prevent the cell phones that are delivered by drones, we reduce a significant amount of the violence. As I mentioned in my testimony, cell phones are used to extort families, to maintain criminal networks on the street. As I mentioned, prisons in some cases are command centers for drug cartels because they continue their criminal enterprises. If we eliminate cell phones and drive the communication back to our state systems, we have sophisticated tools to monitor those systems, whether it be on our tablets or our institutional phone systems. But when they circumvent that through cell phones that drones deliver, it's one of the major issues we have to combat.
Thank you, Senator Durbin.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Let me apologize